We've counted over 30 groups Korea-Japan relations are expected to worsen. Takaichi Sanae, an ultra-hardline right-winger, has been elected president of Japan's Liberal Democratic Party. For a while, Korea-Japan relations were good, but it seems like they will get worse. Today, let's take a proper look at this topic. Let's get right into it. The Liberal Democratic Party's presidential election to select the next prime minister was on October 4th. Defying expectations, Sanae Takaichi won the presidential election and now leads the party. As the first female president of the Liberal Democratic Party, she is expected to become Japan's first female prime minister. President Takaichi won the October 4th election with 185 votes, defeating Minister of Agriculture Koizumi by 29 votes. It was a very big surprise. On sites like Poly Market, over 80% believed Minister of Agriculture Koizumi would win, so most expected Koizumi to come out on top. But Sanae Takaichi became the president. President Sanae Takaichi pledged in her acceptance speech to lead the Liberal Democratic Party into a new era and transform people's anxieties into hope. President Takaichi is a far-right Japanese politician, often nicknamed the female Abe. In Japan, she's nicknamed Taliban Takaichi. President Takaichi also visits the Yasukuni Shrine, which honors Class A war criminals. She strongly supports Yasukuni Shrine visits, and as an ultra-conservative politician, goes there at least 3 times a year. She also stated that the Japanese official attending the annual Takeshima Day event, which Japan promotes every year, should be raised to the ministerial level. After becoming a strong candidate for party leader, she's taken a more moderate stance, saying she'll decide appropriately on Yasukuni Shrine visits. That doesn't erase what she said before. She also said people should view Dokdo as Japanese territory and not care about others' opinions. Consider Sanae Takaichi's leadership style. She demonstrates real strength, not just rhetoric. She aims to strengthen Japan through her actions, philosophy, and policies. First of all, President Takaichi once mentioned in a past interview that there is a possibility of renegotiating the investment in the United States, which is worth about $550 billion. She said past negotiations with President Trump should be scrapped and the system sending Japan's money to the United States needs fixing. She believes Japan should put its interests first, even while keeping the alliance. President Takaichi's main message is that Japan's money should support its own growth. She's also taking a hardline stance on foreigner policies. She said foreigners harming Japanese society should be expelled. Considering the recent increase in foreigner-related crimes and regional conflicts in Japan, such remarks accurately address the anxieties of the Japanese people. President Takaichi has stated she will not tolerate a society where Japanese people feel uneasy. In terms of economic policy, she is prioritizing the stability of ordinary people's lives above all else. She plans to lower the consumption tax and abolish the provisional gasoline tax rate to control prices. Recently, the rise in prices in Japan has reached a serious level. The goal is to reduce living costs, boost spending, and revive domestic demand. She inherited Sanae and Abenomics and introduced an even stronger economic policy. The strategy is to quickly boost government spending to stimulate economic recovery. She plans to invest in the digital industry, advanced manufacturing, and energy innovation as part of new growth strategies. The goal is to return Japan's economy to technology-driven growth. Takaichi's true stance is revealed on constitutional revision. She says Article 9, Clause 2 of the Peace Constitution, which bans military force, should be removed, and the self-defense forces should be officially called a military. This is not just a simple institutional reform, it's akin to a declaration that Japan will officially recognize its own right to national defense. She says that Japan should no longer remain a country that only defends itself. She insists that Japan must establish an active and independent national defense posture. This shakes the foundation of post-war Japanese politics. If you look at each of President Takaichi's statements and policies, they all point toward a stronger Japan. The economy, diplomacy, and security are all moving in the same direction. She wants a strong Japan. South Korea and Japan have had a good relationship in recent years. The leaders of both countries have met several times to try to bridge the long-standing rift, and as a result, the previously stalled shuttle diplomacy has been restored. Leaders from both countries traveled frequently, enabling dialogue. The Korea-Japan summits in Tokyo and Busan symbolize this. After the summit, economic cooperation slowly recovered, while security cooperation continued through South Korea, the United States, and Japan. Instead of tension, the two countries increasingly move forward together. If Takaichi's government takes power, the situation will likely change drastically. She is seen as a politician who prioritizes Japan's pride and security. This means that she is unlikely to avoid uncomfortable issues in relations with South Korea. If you review her previous statements, there are many topics South Korea is sensitive about. On sensitive issues like historical disputes or the Dokdo territory, most observers think she won't be as cautious as past administrations. Prime Minister Takaichi's past remarks on the Dokdo issue are gaining attention in Japan as her hardline stance appeals to conservative groups. If she begins her full-fledged diplomatic activities as Prime Minister, it is highly likely that the relationship between Korea and Japan will shift from the current stage of cooperation to a stage where their differences become more apparent. She is expected to maintain Japan's position that it has met all legal obligations on historical issues, which could disrupt Korea's efforts toward reconciliation and mutual respect. The Dokdo issue is increasingly used to rally political support within Japan. Since she emphasizes a strong security-centered stance, it is clear that she will send a message that she will never make concessions on territorial issues either. There are rising fears that trust between the two countries may be shaken again. Various private exchanges and economic cooperation projects are underway, but now there are predictions that all these efforts could be put on hold due to political tensions. Many young people worry the phrase, "a close yet distant country," may resurface. Prime Minister Takaichi's leadership is being evaluated as strong and decisive within Japan, but when it comes to relations with Korea, that strength is more likely to lead to conflict. Everyone is now watching closely to see whether the bridge of trust that the two countries have painstakingly rebuilt will be shaken again, or if they will find a new way to achieve balance. Of course, that doesn't mean Sanae Takaichi can do whatever she wants. For the first time in the history of the Liberal Democratic Party, they have recorded a majority in both the House of Representatives and the House of Councilors. As a minority ruling party, running the country is difficult. Besides the Komeito Party coalition, talks are ongoing to expand with other opposition parties. President Takaichi Sanae has a poor relationship with the opposition parties. For now, the Komeito Party seems to be maintaining its composure, but it appears they are also considering leaving the coalition. The Komeito Party expressed concerns to President Takaichi Sanae about Yasukuni shrine visits and demanded coexistence with foreigners. As noted, President Takaichi Sanae opposes these measures. At the same time, the Komeito Party has taken a rather firm stance, saying that if these issues are not resolved, there will be no coalition government. Other opposition parties are also not on good terms with President Takaichi Sanae, so it doesn't look like running the government will be easy. If opposition parties don't cooperate soon, passing the budget will be hard. Also, high prices in Japan show no signs of improving. Diplomatic issues with President Trump are still unresolved, though the Ishiba administration settled mutual tariffs with his administration. Future plans require spending $550 billion, 774 trillion won, of reserves in the United States, so government operations are expected to remain difficult. You could argue he only won the Liberal Democratic Party's presidential race, not the National Assembly's prime ministerial nomination. Japan's prime minister is chosen by a national diet vote, with both houses nominating candidates. If both houses nominate different candidates, the House of Representatives nominee takes priority. Despite being in the minority, the Liberal Democratic Party remains the largest in the Diet. Since the other opposition parties are fragmented, winning the Liberal Democratic Party presidential election almost guarantees you'll become prime minister. Japanese politics' future will largely depend on Sanae Takaichi's choices as party leader. If she keeps her hardline conservative stance, she'll strengthen support from conservatives at home, but conflicts with opposition parties will likely intensify. Economic crises and diplomatic instability together can make political isolation deadly. If Takaichi, the party leader, chooses pragmatic compromises and works with the Komeito Party or centrists, Japan could regain some social stability. However, judging from her statements and actions so far, her determination to stick to her own philosophy appears stronger than her willingness to compromise. For this reason, it is highly likely that Japan's diplomatic stance will lean more conservative, and tensions with neighboring countries, including South Korea, are expected to persist for a longer period. If sensitive issues like Dokdo, historical disputes, or defense costs arise, South Korea-Japan relations may cool again. Prime Minister Takaichi's first challenge will be achieving balance. While advocating for a strong Japan, it is about maintaining the trust of the international community and achieving political balance between the domestic conservative and moderate groups. Given the current atmosphere, she will likely take a clear stance instead of seeking balance. Japanese politics is changing again. I hope Korea and Japan maintain good relations. What are your thoughts on Sanae Takaichi as party leader? Share in the comments. Thanks for watching.